I figured you'd tell me when we're starting. Anyways, good afternoon, fellow Misfits. Happy to be here once again, talking to y'all, sitting in behind the blackened BAD microphone.
Even though slightly obscured by a gift basket.
We'll get to that. I want to get to it now, but got everything in its time. Otherwise, it's just chaos, which I apparently am even more of an agent of chaos when I sleep than I am when I'm awake. Because I woke up this morning with all of my covers thrown completely off me, and it was freezing cold.
Nice.
I'm just like, this isn't even like partially off, like dropped down to just my legs, just completely thrown off me. I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me.
I'm pretty sure I fell into my bed and became one with it when I finally reached it this morning.
One of the greatest technological advancements, memory foam mattresses. Oh. For the longest time, there was a bed that was left when I bought the house, and I just used it. And then eventually I'm just like, yeah, I should probably get my own. And Amazon had a deal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Being me, I'm like, we're going big or going home. So I got a king size. Best decision of my life.
The best.
If y'all have never slept in a king size bed, it is wonderful. You can sprawl out, even being 6 feet tall, and still have plenty of bed for...
We don't have an advertisement for this. This is just Misfits being Misfits.
Yes. Although to correct something, I guess I can't really correct something you said earlier because you said we don't sell laptops here, and we don't. But we do have gaming PCs. The side hustle in addition to all the other.
Always got to have a good one.
Yes. So if you want an affordable gaming PC, stop in here and talk to us. But getting back to it, broadcasting to you live from the Misfit Militia bunker, safely tucked away in not my parents' basement. Don't bother coming. We've learned with Eddie, and my mom she just sit there and be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Josh isn't here, and you don't get any of our cookies.
But they do go great with coffee, if you can manage to roll high enough and convince someone to let go of some cookies.
You're going to have to talk to Phil about that. He's the DM.
You're right.
But that being said, going along with cookies, I know I smelled yours, but I guess I'll ask you for the sake of our audience, what you drinking there, Big Bad John?
I've been jumping around a lot, especially with my weekend travels. I really just needed a good cup of Bali. I've done Costa Rican, I've done Nicaraguan, I've done Peruvian. But nothing quite warms the soul quite like a cup of Bali. I was gonna say, what do you got?
Hold on, I was gonna say more. I was gonna say, I forgot to mention that it is our gunner man. Sitting in the gunner seat, firing off comments left and right, Big Bad John. I, too, am drinking Bali. I've been jumping around all these different ones, and I've just avoided the dark roast. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna go dark today. We're gonna drink dark. It just feels like that kind of night or morning. Or
well, I guess it's appropriate since we're all about to be completely, eclipsed and. Everything's gonna go dark.
I like my coffee like I like my eclipses, black.
And then Princess Magpul says she's drinking ice cold lemon water. Everybody's shocked.
Dang, my thing doesn't show. Oh well. Yeah, I was gonna try and be fancy and be able to look at comments so I can read them, which, given some of the lives, is probably not the wiser of the decisions. But I figured to go with it.
Just don't toss it like the sheets. Do not toss.
Dang it! There goes my bit. Screw it. We'll do it live. Sorry, that's probably getting old for y'all. I don't care. I run things to death. But I had my announcements on there, and I'm gonna.
You may as well go get them. You're gonna need them.
Now I'm gonna have to remember. I don't know that I'm gonna need them, but it was worth it. It was worth the joke. Sometimes you just
always worth a good laugh.
You gotta do it for the joke. Where were we on the intros? I don't know. Coffee, black, something.
Announcements.
Oh no, I was gonna tell them. To those of you who don't know, you're fortunate to have Big Bad John here because he almost didn't make it back into the States.
Yeah. Just to give you all a nice little fun snippet of that, I found myself getting into Miami. Went for my I'd say older brother, but I'm the youngest, so they're all older. My older brother's wedding, and I almost got stuck in Miami coming back from the Virgin Islands. So I found myself sitting about 10:15 at night, just praying, quite literally the whole time, that me being number one on the standby slot, I would find a place on that plane.
Well, praise the Lord you did.
Praise the Lord indeed.
But I'll say, since your brother got married there, is it no longer the Virgin Islands and we're just calling it the islands? It's... Great subject. All right. So yeah, glad that you were able to make it back, and that they actually did let you back in, even though you never technically left America.
Gotta love how that works.
That was interesting to learn because when we went to the Cayman Islands, you drove on the left side of the road, but the cars were made so you were sitting on the right side of the to drive.
And that's the crazy thing with St. Croix is that on the Virgin Islands, it's steering wheel's on the left, drive on the left. My brother did a phenomenal job navigating that. My brain was shorting out just watching the cars zoom by.
Making right turns would just seem so awkward.
Yeah, it was. Because every time we got in a lane and we'd start turning, I'm going, wait, because they're still moving. Like, how do you give right of way now? He put it the best way of saying it's like you're playing with inverted controls.
It sounds awful. There's
terrible.
a reason that people don't normally check that unless they're psychos. I guess that, well, he got right into the Virgin Islands. Do with that what you will. There's no side one way or the other. Anyways, moving right along, since we have learned a little bit. Did you? Well, I guess what? Did you have a good time there?
I gotta say I did. They're the new in-laws, the new family, just some of the most hospitable people I think I've met, like outside of people that I know already in a very long time. It was just, oh, you're family now. Come on in. The house is yours. This is yours. And it was seeing, it's a big side of the family. There's a lot of them. And it was, we've talked on here a lot about just community and all that. There are no differences that come to the table, I found, when they get together. You've got people walking all different walks of life, all different businesses and lifestyles, and everybody just came together and had fun. It was really, it was pretty neat to see.
Well, glad to hear it. I guess since we've gotten on with Misfit, well, I guess that's not necessarily, I don't know. With Misfit personnel news, we're on to Misfit Militia coffee news. So I guess the first and probably the biggest thing is we've now, or is it not? Did that feature just like you opened that feature up recently?
Yes.
Excellent. Big Bad John has been working tirelessly as the techno man, even though I'm supposed to be the one good with technology. I guess I'm good with the hardware. He's good with the software, but been working tirelessly on the website. If you haven't looked at it, go there, misfitmilitiacoffee.com. Go there. It's wonderful. He's been working with it, taking feedback. But one of the things he has added is reviews for products. So if you like our stuff and you want to help us out, you want to keep helping us grow, especially for those who are, with the online presence, in order to convince people to buy there, they're going to have to see that other people like it and enjoy it. So the more reviews we can get with your honest feedback, we're not going to tell you to leave us a 5-star review. Leave us an honest review. If you didn't like it, if there's something you didn't like about it, if there's something you felt that needed to be done better, or if you just didn't like having to deal with me when you come in and bought it, hey, leave it. Well, I guess that doesn't really have to do with the product. You can just put in there like product, 5-star, personnel, the 2.
F-.
Yeah.
And and just full transparency, we have the option to reject reviews, unless there is a true problem with the way something's stated. We're not going to reject anything. If you decide to go up there and say this coffee was terrible, take it off the lineup, we'll post it, and there's a good chance if we get enough people to agree, you'll see the coffee come off the lineup.
Yeah. I mean, we're pulling one just because we saw it wasn't really coming off the line, so we're taking it off the line up.
The whole of buying for the people thing. We want y'all to understand this truly is based on y'all. We're going to bring out what we think works best. We've already had a couple even minor things, some major, some minor, that we've tried, didn't quite take off. That's okay. That's not what the people are looking for right now. We'll move along. But the reviews really help us gauge that. It really helps people understand that there's actual voices behind the purchases. And so if we have all of you new Misfits, you heard about it from someone. You might have heard our radio ad. You heard about it from the fair. You saw us at the farmers markets. But you didn't know how it was until you tried it. And so having a way for y'all to see it, that's what we're aiming for here.
Yes. So yeah. And we're offering a discount.
We sure are. 10% off for anyone who leaves a review.
Let's get some Italian hands for that. I mean, that's money back in your pockets, and that's
Yes.
always a good thing,
Always.
especially in this time,
Especially.
because money's scarce
Scarce.
and bills are plentiful.
Plentiful.
Shut up. All right. And then I say it's gonna be a little bit of a shortened segment, but we're gonna make it work. Big Bad John was able to sign on a few more people for subscriptions, so getting recurring coffee every week, always a good thing. One, you always get coffee. Two, it helps us keep going, at least for a few more days, if not a few more weeks.
And we throw discounts in there too. If you're subscribed and even just getting one thing a week, you're saving $1 an item. It's really, it helps in the long run, and that's the thing. If someone's gonna put any faith in us, we're gonna give something back.
I think that's the biggest thing is it's if you know you're gonna be buying, it pays to just subscribe, because we don't lock you in to 6 months or 8 months or 10 months. In fact, technically, if you wanted to be a penny pinching ethnicity removed, you could just subscribe for one payment, get it for a discount, and then go along and cancel it until you need it again. Subscribe, then cancel, go along. So it's not like there's we're not putting much risk on you guys, but you do get cost savings if you do decide to subscribe, and then you're guaranteed to always have delicious coffee.
No.
At least if you only drank a bag a week. If you don't, then you can get more and still have delicious coffee. But it's up to you. If savings is not what you want, hey, I guess money's not for everyone. I guess those who don't work. And then, but I guess, yeah. So we're gonna be trying to get that going more.
Which you'll hear us chirping a lot about. And again, it helps. It helps. It does a couple things. One, it gets y'all deals. Two, it helps us forecast. Because we've said as the business gets to be more and more busy, we're not going to sacrifice on quality. And so the more we know that there is ahead of time, the more we can scale properly and use the money y'all are entrusting with us to scale the business as needed, instead of, oh, hey, we got 50 orders to do. What do we do now?
Yeah, well, and the other thing is, like, it lets you know, at least if there's roasting that has to absolutely be done. Because on weekends like this one, where Big Bad John was out for the whole entire weekend, no time to make up roasting. So it's one of those things where if someone decided, if y'all, for whatever reason, decided to flood in when he was gone, it would have been like, oh, sorry, we're out of that. Oh, sorry, we're out of that too. And whereas if you have a subscription, we're going to be making sure that those are going to get filled when they say they're going to be filled. So helps him out, helps us out, helps you out, all around a good thing. So
help us, help you, help us all.
Yes, that one. That's why he sits in the gunner seat and I just sit here like fidgeting. I noticed I was fidgeting a lot last week, but that's okay. That's what I do. And then I'll say I held this up. Oh, my camera went away. I didn't even realize it. I had this up here just because you all could see him in the background, and Big Bad John mentioned of it. These are our gift baskets that we made for friends of the NRA with all kinds of goodies. But we can also make them for you if you'd like to give it to someone. Want to make a nice little gift basket that's gonna make them feel like wow. And so you have to talk to Princess about that. She's the one who is able to make these wonderful, ornate looks. If it were me, I would just throw it all in there, throw vinyl, and say, it's good.
Yeah, it's done.
Throw it in a black garbage bag.
I mean, she even ties the bows herself.
Yeah.
Which I sat and watched, and it's they say men just play with bigger Legos and more expensive Legos as they get older. Tying bows is not a Lego for me.
No. I was gonna say I would look for a bow that all you have to do is like magnetically attach it or just clip it on like a clip-on bow tie, and do that because I only know how to plug and play. I don't really know how to do anything.
And even then, I'd still drop the magnet.
So.
But yes, if y'all are looking for any kind of gift baskets, anything of that sort, even if it's something for an event that you're doing for a fundraiser, we community, man, we jump so much into it wherever we can find it. So if you have an event, if there's something that you're looking to raise money for, just come talk to us. As long as it's not something that stands completely against what we believe in, we will be more than happy to support.
I say, and man, my thing keeps full transparency. The only reason I didn't really throw that one out is because of, I don't know why. if everyone keeps asking for free stuff, there's no way we're gonna stay afloat. So I just figured I'd throw it out there as something you could buy.
We charge a little for for the bigger ones, right? But you're still not paying nearly the same, and it really depends.
Yeah. So, coffee basket.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Get it.
That's it for the announcements. Why is man? I gotta figure that out with my phone. I don't know why it keeps dropping out, but
Odd.
sorry y'all. I'm just in one. It's just one of those days where I'm just distracted by everything.
Gonna need to just get an IV hooked up straight from the Keurig and just keep brewing.
I don't know if it's tired. I'm just catching my attention. I'm having a harder time focusing today than most, but we are getting to what I like to call the debrief discussion of the week. I guess I'm not going to see it on here.
I went closer to the mic and I was supposed to be fading out.
Yeah, so you went closer and got oh, hey, I had my hands pretty well. Good. Anyways, this one's going to be a little bit different. We're not necessarily diving into a biblical principle necessarily. Like, it's not, it will have biblical elements because the Bible is not limited to just one thing. It tells us how to live and how to live consistently with one another on this earth, and how to actually thrive instead of going to war and using poison mustard gas and organ harvesting your own people, like in countries that we will name because we're not beholden to them. China. Sorry, John Cena. I ain't seen him in a while.
You can't see it, but he's got one.
We're going to talk about minimum wage. And is it unconstitutional or is it a bad thing? Yeah, I guess I think we phrased it on the thing. Is constitutional bad? Or is Constitution bad? No. Is minimum wage bad? And we're not going to... I'm going to hold off on giving the answer. We're just going to walk through and look at it objectively and think about it, I understand from a worker standpoint, minimum wage seems like a good thing. Everyone wants to be able to make a certain amount of money. So then the question is, how does it impact an employer? Because, like, I know looking at it with us, if we got to the point where people were buying K-Cups like crazy, that'd probably be one of the things. Making K-Cups would be something I would want to hire someone for if we ever got that big. Okay? Right now we're doing it for free, so to speak. I mean, full transparency, I'm not really making money from here. The business is, praise the Lord, the money we've made from the business we have used for financial needs at the house, but it's not something that I'm constantly drawing on. And Big Bad John he's barely drawing anything, if any. We've been trying to work to get him to where even just a little bit he's drawing some, whatever he can, because he works here tirelessly, trying to make sure you guys have delicious coffee. And we, even with our goals, we're aiming just to make about $15 an hour. If not now, we're not actually aiming to make $15 an hour because we're going to be working a lot more than 40 hours.
Yeah.
But if we build it around the 40-hour work day or work week, 40 hours a week, that this pay at $15 an hour pay, this is what we should be taking home. That's what we're aiming for. We're gonna be, but since we're the owners, we're gonna be working tirelessly more than that.
And to put this in a broad scope, so our good friend Smoke Master made the statement. I don't know how many of y'all saw, but I believe it was last Monday.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, so last Monday, California passed. And again, this is, y'all take our thoughts, leave your thoughts in the comments. This is all back and forth. There's no concrete answer here. This is just kind of what we have rocking around in our brains from what we understand as business owners, as citizens, as all that. California passed $20 an hour for a minimum wage. And it was within a couple days, I'd read an article about a small business owner out there. The day they passed that, he had to let go all of his employees and then shut his doors, because he physically could not afford to pay the people that he needed. Now, he needed people, because it's you get to that middle ground point where, okay, business ain't quite making much, but you also can't afford to not have people there to run it. $20 an hour. Just think about that. We know what that looks like out here. Like, what are your jobs that you make $20 an hour doing.
Mm-hmm.
Some places, if it's not strictly a welding facility, you have welders who do that. You've got mechanics who are doing that. You've got shift line workers who are doing that. Now put that across the board. So someone and just simply standing in one spot, they might, at a cash register, the store might be completely slow. You might only get 2 customers. $20 an hour. How do you think that's going to handle the business?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. If we're not pulling anything from this, we're working our tail ends off, and we're the way we're trying to get there is through just sheer volume of sales. The more you guys buy, the more it gives us money to do stuff. Here's the thing about it. The money, you can't just say, well, you're making enough money that you can do whatever, because you also got to be we have to be investing. There's going to be a point we're going to want bigger. We're going to need a bigger roaster, Lord willing. We're going to have to upgrade to a 6-pound roaster, especially if you want to see all 3 of us here all the time. We're going to absolutely need a 6-pound roaster.
Yeah.
Right now we got a 2.25 pound roaster. That's all we can do. And even if Big Bad John maxed that thing out, we couldn't sustain having all 3 of us here. We'd need to upgrade to a 6-pound roaster, which means we'd also have to upgrade our K-cup making machine, because we'd have to be able to pump out. And then, Lord willing, all of America will get on board with Misfit Militia coffee, and they'll be buying like crazy. And we'll have to get all these things. We'll have to. At that point, I really hope someone would get into printing on the K-cups themselves.
Yeah, that would be so much nicer than just sleeving them.
I wonder if we could UV print on.
Ooh.
If we could build a special, something for us to. Yes. But stuff like that, we can't invest if we're having to divert more funds towards paying people more. The other thing about it, I guess, to those who think that minimum wage is good, how many of you use self-checkout? Do you use self-checkout? Do you use the kiosk at McDonald's? Because that's one of the things the thing I read or heard about was McDonald's, as soon as that passed in California, just went completely away from any server. And I mean, this is the funny thing about it. They could pay someone $20 an hour to take your order and mess it up a couple of times, or they can put kiosks in, and your order there's no mistake, no one to blame but yourself. They don't have to throw away food or give out food or get rid of any of that, because it's already been. You're the one who typed it in.
Nope.
If it's wrong, you typed it in wrong. It's all your liability. And so it helps them out. And I know for me personally, yeah, I use the kiosk. I use the self-checkout, which is part of the reason I'm not a huge fan of a minimum wage, because if I can do it, if I'm going to do it, it's because I value my time a lot more than I value waiting there for someone who's going to move slow.
Right. Well, no, the thing that scares me with it, and I might be jumping a little bit ahead, but this is something that sat on me. Like we've said over and over again, we were in the steel industry. And I know when I was working at Gerdau, a lot of the gentlemen, because I was a supervisor over a casting department, and the thing they talked about tirelessly was the fear of robotic equipment taking their jobs. Because it's, we're all on board with the safety factor of, right? Like, if this thing is so volatile, let's do it. Let's let a robot do it. Because if the robot burns up, that's a life that's saved and a robot that just gets replaced. But once you get a person under there trying to lance open 150 tons of molten steel, it's terrifying. But then it goes further. Then it's okay. Let's get this replaced with automation. Let's automate this, and then before you know it, you've got. And I believe in China they have it right now, where you've got one guy who runs an automated floor, and he only goes out to do maintenance. He only goes out to fix jams. You, in my opinion, you raise that price for that minimum wage, and companies don't want to follow it. You've now just forced automation.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, you don't get to say that they're making this much, therefore they can pay this much. That's not how a business owner looks at it. They're not going to look at it. Yes, they're going to be greedy capitalists and try and maximize their profit, because a maximized profit does multiple things. One, you could either have one person working at a said salary, like let's just say we hired people at $10 an hour. If we maximize our profit, we could justify bringing on a second guy And so now you have 2 people with a job instead of just one.
Yep.
Whereas if we bring in 2 people and then the minimum wage goes up, we can't justify it. We can only give the one guy a job. Okay, what have you gained?
Yeah.
Realistically, nothing. On top of that, if our costs factor in having a guy working there, having to pay his, that cost goes, we have to make that money back somewhere. And you sit there and say, well, you just take it out of your profits. Okay, so when we start losing money, that just means he's going to get fired quicker. Whereas if we're able to make more, we're able to invest in the company, we start losing money, we're going to hold on to him a little bit because it's not time to call in the big guns yet. It's not time to go into fight or flight.
Right.
And so there's a lot of negative ramifications with having a higher minimum wage. But I think the biggest thing for me is, well, before I even get to that aspect, to those of you who do support it, I mean, think of it. I guess I ask you this question. Let's say you have two kids who you offer to mow your lawn. You tell them, it's taking me 2.5 hours to do it. When I was more energetic, I was able to do it in an hour and a half. But it's taking me about 2.5 hours to do it now. And honestly, it's getting to the point where I just want to pay someone to do it. So I'm gonna offer y'all $40. I'm gonna offer you $40 to do it. I'm gonna offer you $20 an hour to do it. Who do you think is gonna get the job done quicker? It's if I were a teenager in that spot, or think of yourself if you were in that position. You get offered $20 an hour, or you get offered, and you're told that it'll take you about 2.5 hours, or you get offered $40 or we'll even say $50. You're offered $50, and you know you can get it done in an hour and a half. Which one are you going to take? I personally would take the one, haul my butt, get paid $50, and try and get another one. See if, get someone else to do it for the same price. And I'd rather get the base pay that's set to be around that, because if I can haul and work harder, then I can get more.
Well, while you're talking, I'm trying to think of other points of view. So I'm just gonna throw a couple questions out as we go through and just kind of explore them, because it's sadly we don't have anyone next to us yet that has the opposing viewpoint. But I mean, just to be thinking through it, I know when I was younger, I was always a big fan of the idea of a minimum wage, from the perspective of nobody getting taken advantage of. So I guess that'd be I'm just going to throw the question out to the viewers, but specifically I'm going to let you answer this. In terms of getting, taken for a ride, so to speak, where is the balance in, okay, you don't set a minimum wage, so then someone just starts only paying $3 an hour, versus you do, and people feel like they're getting shafted, they feel like they're not getting enough. And
well, and that comes back to where what we stand for. That is why we push the Bible as hard as we do, right? Because unfortunately, with freedom, I'm going to call this a cliche because it's not in the Bible. It is the Peter Parker or his Uncle Ben's words. With great power comes great responsibility. With great freedom comes a need for great morality. That's the thing, though. You cannot legislate away morality. You cannot compensate for lack of morality with legislation. That's what I'm trying to say. And so it falls down to with guns. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That realistically, if you look up the definition of infringement, and I'm not going to worry about pulling it up, but the definition of infringement is anything that makes it more difficult. You can argue, if you saved up $400, a tax that makes it $420 is making it more difficult to get the gun, because you just spent 4 months saving up to get a gun, and now you have to pay an extra $20, which is going to take a few more weeks. So right there, your ability to buy a gun is being infringed.
Infringement, 2 definitions. The one in this context would be the action of limiting or undermining something. Period. Even limiting counts as an infringement.
Yeah. And so, but the problem with it is that people do have valid concerns that there are people that will be dangerous with a gun. the problem is when you ban it, those dangerous people are still going to have it, and the good people are not. That's where the big difference occurs with us and people who are anti-gun. They're not anti-gun. They're anti-citizens owning guns. If you actually break down what they argue, because they want the police to have guns, they want the military to have guns. Well, let's stop the military. Well, they have this weird view that they're going to act in perfect morality and they'll never point the gun on their own people, which there's college protests in the 70s and 80s that would beg to differ, but it's besides the point. And so there is no guarantee that you're not going to get taken advantage of. And the only way you can realistically guarantee that you're not going to get taken advantage of is to start your own business, to be self-sufficient, to be self-sustaining.
Well, and there's another way that goes alongside it too, and it's something I think the thing that changed me for a lot of that, and even something like minimum wage and where I stand on things, company policies and standings as a whole. You know, we've got this terrible thing now of the whole cancel culture, right? Where it's, oh, I don't like you, I'm just gonna, you know, you're deplatformed, you're demonetized, you can't say anything. But the action of choosing to not support something because you don't like what they stand for, that I don't think is a problem. I think that falls right in line with capitalism. And I think a lot of that, what it really came back to is me looking at myself is if I'm gonna criticize someone for how much their minimum pay is, but I'm not gonna be upset at someone for how they treat their employees or the standings that they hold with people who walk in the door or anything, or how they handle their money. Now I'm being a hypocrite in my actions. I think a lot of this you could, in the same way that you're talking about, where you can't have all the power with no morality. I think if we all took more responsibility for the businesses that we worked with, you'd weed that out, because you'd hear from, hey, you know, my sister's youngest son, he's 25 and he went out and got this job and they refused to pay him anything and he had to work for extra hours on end. Eventually nobody would go. Yep. And they'd have to fix what their mistakes or go out of business.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People, if you know, we're talking about wanting people to leave reviews so that people who have never worked with us or have never bought our coffee or tried it are more willing to make that jump. But that's the thing. Like, people aren't willing to make that jump right now because there's no indicator of whether they're going to like it or not. There's no indicator of if it's going to be good or not. But you get more of those reviews, it's going to turn out that way. It's the same thing with that, like what you said. If you find out from everyone that, yeah, they're a terrible employer, he never paid me, you know, for the most part, if you're going to realize that if you go there in the first week, oh, sorry, I don't have your paycheck. Oh, yeah, everyone said that. Yeah, I'm going to go find a different job. But the other thing about it is we've got so heavily dependent on this corporate America where you have to go to these corporations for jobs. That's never what America was founded on.
There's what is it? I think it's Glassdoor is that website that they just had an ad recently where the whole thing is the person sits down in the interview and they're like, oh, so whatever. And they ask a frankly inappropriate question. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was based on pay. And he's like, how much are we making? Oh, you'd be making this much a year. And he goes, huh? They said you'd lowball me like that. And there was their ad. We'll take the blinders off. This should be no different. Same concept.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing about it, is then it would actually motivate you to go find moral business owners. Someone who's going to treat someone fact check me on this. I'm willing to state it because I'm pretty sure I've heard it from multiple sources, but I read it here recently. The whole 40-hour work week was put in place by Gerald Ford. The 5 days a week was put in place by Gerald Ford because he believed you should have 1 day to spend with your family and 1 day to spend in the Lord's house. That's what a moral business owner looks like. Yep. He is willing to pay his employees, and he's willing to let them have their family and spend time with their family. And if we supported more people like that, this world would be a lot better place. There'd be a lot better businesses. The reason corporations don't care about y'all is because you've gone and worked for them anyway, even when they don't care about you.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't even think about this. They talk about raising the minimum wage to 20. I wonder if Nucor would fall into that. Or would that affect them?
I don't think so. I think they said, because theirs is only probationary. I believe at first.
Well, because the entry level jobs technically only paid like 13 an hour. Now they had production bonuses, but it's for that one. Like, if they had to pay them 20 and then production bonuses, guess what they're gonna do with the bonuses? They're gonna restructure them, or the cost of everything is going to go up because now you're talking about cars, you're talking about appliances, you're talking about roadways, you're talking about anything and everything that there's steel, lawnmowers, lawnmower decks, refrigerators, HVAC, all this different stuff. All the cost goes up because now all your labor force goes up.
Or you have it happen like Tesla, where they just full on move their base of operations out of state because they're not going to work with the regulations that are being forced down, and then you rob your state of jobs and funds, and then you watch the state go down the drain.
Well, and this is the fun one for everyone. Originally, the minimum wage was put in because during the Great Depression, the blacks were willing to work for less. And so they said, well, no, you got to protect our jobs. It was all in the interest of protecting your own job. And understand that I think that's the thing here. It was seated in self-preservation, which nothing in the Bible about that. No. But it was seated in self-preservation, and it was they're taking our jobs. And so they put in the minimum wage and said, well, if we're going to have to pay these people the same amount, then I'm just going to take the ones that aren't going to cause any kind of controversy or any kind of issue with that.
Well, and Princess Magpul dropped a point in here, too, that it goes along the same vein of what we were discussing, where she's saying kids are going to college now, they're spending money they don't have. A lot of times getting degrees that are worthless, which I mean, we've seen your a lot of your liberal arts degrees where, not that you can't make a living in them, but it's like one in every how many people can actually do it, and you don't have the on-the-job training. You just have that, and then you're expected to get the same pay, an elevated pay rate, just because you've got a piece of paper, which we've sat here and talked about how we got the engineering degrees and it still did not prepare you for a job. It didn't prepare you for the real world. It taught you theoretical. It did not translate completely.
I say, realistically, looking back on it, I should have been offered half until like 2-3 years in, to where I was actually beneficial to them, and then paid what I was getting paid. Yep. But I mean, I'm not complaining. It's nice money out of the gate. But I think that's the funny thing. Some of these college degrees, they're only good to go on and teach the same classes you just took.
Yeah,
that's all you're there for. You're just there to become a teacher.
Well, and as she says at the end too, all thanks to the government, because then you get other things like, you look at healthcare, things like as we've seen so closely. Type 1 diabetic supplies, all of these other things that are, essential for people to live that you now can't afford, but it's working fine for the government. Why? Because the people running the institutions, running the big colleges, they're getting a fat paycheck because suckers like me spent $60,000 a year that I didn't even have to pay 1 year, but somehow pulled it out in loans to get 4. Then you run around with all this debt. Then you're complaining. Meanwhile, if you'd just been forced to go work and actually get taught the value of the degree that you're buying, you'd have been more selective with the degree, and you'd have paid a lot more attention in class.
Well, and the funny thing is, knowing you and knowing that you're like me, where you want to understand things, you probably would have been ready to take on a metallurgical role if you just jumped into the aluminum plant, or if you jumped into Gerdau, because you would be asking all these questions, and they could see that, and like, you need to go in our apprenticeship program and go there and train with the metallurgist. You probably would have been ready to go after about 3 years.
Yeah. I bet so.
You would have learned all the necessary things just from on the job. I know that's how it was with me. I would have rather, if the opportunity was there to go, and I guess we're deviating from minimum wage, but to go work and actually get on the job training. But I guess to bring it, because I don't want to deviate too far.
Well, no, but I think but it's not completely off topic, I think, because you think right before we got on, we were discussing it is a biblical principle. Man is worthy of his hire. And so if we're going to talk about the people who deserve $20 an hour, and we're not, and this, we put the emotions aside here. You look at what somebody's doing. Is it worthy of that cost? What does $20 an hour get you in today's society? Understanding that inflation is as high as it is, who deserves that $20 more? The mechanic that's keeping all the people on the roads, or the person flipping burgers? it's not offensive. It's just not an equal level of necessity.
Well, and I think that's going back to the point we made with the Great Depression. Honestly, minimum wage is a sense of entitlement. It's saying I deserve to be paid this much. Why do you get to tell someone else how much they get to pay you? Like, not they get to pay you. Why do you get to tell someone else through the government that they must pay you this much, or else the government shuts them down? Because honestly, and how many of you want to pay a 13-year-old $20 an hour to mow your lawn?
But then the question, why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah.
Lack of experience, lack of expertise.
Lack of space. You could do it for free.
Yeah.
Well, how about that one? You would do it for free because you have to. So if you're going to do it for free, there's no value in the job.
Yeah.
There's value to you in saving time, and so you're willing to outsource it to someone else, and their time they feel is worth a certain amount. And why do I not get to choose? Let's say someone was offering to hire, or there's someone, they said, sorry, thanks to minimum wage, I can't pay you, I can't afford to bring you on because I can't pay you $20 an hour. I say, I'll work for $10 an hour. Why do you, who support it, get to stand in the way of that and tell him, no, he has to pay you $20 an hour? Why, if I want $10 an hour, why can't I do it? Let's say let's say you started a side business and it took off one of this, and so we had to close this down. And you're pursuing that. You're like, hey, Josh, I need your help, but it's gonna be. I mean, that's realistically, if we think about it, it's either you're gonna pay someone under the table in cash, or you're gonna find ways around it.
Yeah.
You're gonna contract it out to someone who is, I guess, is self-employed and doesn't have to, whatever. But
well, here's a question for you too, because I wonder if anyone's got this on their mind. Then, is there a time where you would agree with a minimum wage? And I ask that under the premise of, we understand that a lot of the institutions we have, even some of the newer things like AI, in proper hands, with a proper scope, with morale in place, or with morality, in place, they're wonderful tools. It's just as we say, this thing is objective. What's done with it is morally right or wrong. And so, what would you say are the moral proper points, if any, of a minimum wage?
I mean, as far as morally, the proper point is to realistically see that's a hard one, because like we talk about like making bags. If we had hoppers for all the different roasts and all you had to do was dump in, grind, seal, I honestly I could only think to offer someone so many cents a bag. Like, look, we're gonna offer you this many cents for every bag you make. We're not gonna pay you an hour. We're gonna offer you this many cents for however many bag you make, or this many dollars for however many bag you make. You make them because it's one of those things. It's not high skill.
Right.
If you can't walk in here and learn how to make a bag in 5 minutes, it's really easy. It's super easy.
Yeah. The hard work's done on the roasting. The packaging isn't the difficult part.
Then that's the thing. Like, you think about even with us, the thing that you guys are paying for isn't, you're not paying for, you could all buy green beans, you could all roast them, you could all make your own coffee and technically do it cheaper. I mean,
yeah,
but you can't roast them as good as Big Bad John can. You can't, most of you probably, you didn't put up the money for the equipment. You didn't put up money in. If you want to roast it like Big Bad John, it's at minimum going to cost you about $4,000. So, I doubt there's many people that would be able to do it. But I think I've already kind of touched on this, but I think let me finish my point. You're paying for the work that he's already done, the knowledge that he has, all these different things. You're paying for it because you can't do it, and that's really the thing about it. Is if you're paying for knowledge or something that you don't have, realistically, it comes down to what you and he want to agree on.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I asked the question. Princess Magpul jumped in and had the same conclusion she put in right as you started talking. She said, "No, leave it to the employer to decide. Keep the government's hands out of it." And I think that's for me, that's the big point. Is people can debate back and forth. Do I like the idea of minimum wage? Yes, no, it does this, it doesn't do that. But at the end of the day, operating as true capitalism does, you are agreeing on the terms of a service or a product. The government should not have their hands in it because by the very definition of a capitalist society or a capitalist agreement even, you're not going to thrive if the person doesn't see the value.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the thing about it. If I'm unwilling to pay people because realistically a livable wage comes down to who you're working with. For some people, if you ask a girl in LA, a livable wage, ain't nobody gonna hire for that.
And it's no less than 6 figures.
Yeah. For someone in Dyersburg, livable wage may be a lot lower because they haven't racked up all this debt. They don't go and pay $500 to get their nails did and their hair done.
Yep.
And to get their makeup on and all this. They may say, yeah, I could live off of $10 an hour. All right, let's call it 12 and call it square. Because I was, or he's like, he comes in, I want to make $15 an hour. I can do 10. You sure you can't do 13? 12, $12.50. Okay, let's shake.
So,
good.
yeah.
Okay. And that's really what it should be. You should both agree to how much you think that job is worth, how much you think, and maybe that's the other thing. If you leave it to that, you can bargain realistically for better. You're like, look, I know you're hiring me for this, but if you hire me, you're gonna find I'm gonna do a lot better than what you're expecting. Well, hey, prove it to me, and I'll start paying. I'll pay you more.
Yeah,
we'll go up and pay.
And that's where you get to the pay for the expertise and the efficiency and the things that the person doesn't have to go back and check.
And we've been kind of dancing around it, and I'm going to address it directly. I mean, the bigger question, the broader scope, especially given where we live, is a minimum wage even constitutional? I think that's the bigger thing for me. And you think about it, what is the minimum wage saying? It's saying you are not allowed to hire an employer or an employee unless you are going to pay them this much money. You have to run your business according to how we think you should, and you get to vote, but other people have more say in the matter. People who don't know your books, people who never run a business, people who don't know what it is that you're dealing with or what kind of costs you have or anything like this, they get to dictate how much you have to pay for labor. Why is that? Why is that fair?
And that's the thing, it's not. But and you touched on it before too, but we've become so accepting and complacent with all those things that, hey, you know what? It's fine. You can underpay here, overpay here. No one's gonna actually check. No one's gonna say anything because I need the job, right? And so you run through it, and then so now we're at a point in times where you can't even afford to stand up against it because it has been such a cascade that you kind of have to make a decision one way or the other, and one leaves you very tightly strapped, and the other still leaves you tightly strapped. You just have a little more job security.
Well, and that's the thing. If you think about it, ooh, it's scalding hot.
Delicious.
Yes, delicious. If you think about it, when most people contract out work, what do they negotiate? They negotiate the final cost, because if you charge by the hour, people are gonna milk it. Nope. It's just if you're don't live in a moral society. So what do? But on the flip side of that, contractors will drive the price down. If you're getting multiple bids, people are going to put in what they think their time is worth, what they think is value, and if they want the contract, and you say no, they'll go lower. So. But if there's a minimum wage, well, I have to charge you this much because this is how much it's going to cost me in labor, this is how many days I project it to be done, and this is how much I have to charge you.
Yep.
But if he's like, well, I was going to bring in a crew for this, but if your thing, I can say cut costs by doing it myself. It will take 2 days extra, but it will cut the cost down $1,000. Or I can bring in one guy, or we're all willing to work for it, like a small business. we're willing to do it for this much. It's not going to be great, but we want to do business with you. You're a nice guy, something like that. Whatever. But they get that choice to get paid that little.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing. Nobody wants to get taken advantage of. No, I don't want to work for nothing. I mean, that's called slavery, and I got bills. But I'm also, if I do get hired, I don't want to be limited to what the guy next to me is making, even though we're doing different levels of work. It's what it comes down to, and it's one of those things like we sit there and say, well, these corporations can afford to pay these people. Sure, they can, but that doesn't mean that they're going to.
Well, and you know how they end up affording to pay for it when you keep doing that? They just raise the base price of everything else. And then you as the consumer are paying more for a decision that you had absolutely nothing to do with.
That's a point I didn't even have wanted to get to, but I haven't. I don't know. Yes, that's the big thing with it. We think that they can just start paying more and that they're just going to eat that cost. No, they're not, because they got to make up that money. You can't. Let's just say you're paying someone right now $10 an hour, and you're able to offer your stuff at you have your current pricing. Let's say that just makes up 50% of the product, like why you the cost in the product. You double that, now that's gonna increase the cost by 25%.
Yep.
So for us, they'd go jump it up to $20. If that were the case, if just hypothetically, numbers are complicated with a lot of things. But that's the other thing. It also depends on how much product you're moving. For a small business owner, if we're not moving a lot, paying $20 an hour, what that comes out to per bag is grotesque.
Yeah. And it's, I remember when I first started working at Nucor. Slight side note, but not completely. I remember one of the big things that I appreciated about them as a company was that, from what I understood, historically, they invested the money in the hardest times. Because in their mind, it was, okay, look, the price is dropping. We don't necessarily have it yet, so we're going to make sure we put enough money aside so that when you hit the bad point, invest the money. Get it for like 30% reduced cost. Then when the market turns back up, you're way ahead of the game because you built the equipment, you went and bought the stock, and now you're ready to go. Everybody else is trying to deal with inflated price, and you're just reaping the benefit off the sales.
There are so many points that we just can't
just can't get
to,
time.
But want to. That you're exactly right. That was one of the things I was talking about with one of our customers. Is when the bad times come, that's when you need to start making changes. How are you going to do that if you don't have money because they raised minimum wage and I'm really not making a whole lot of money, but I'm just gonna keep it where it is because I don't need to make any kind of improvements, and then downtime hurts and you don't have any money to invest.
Yep.
You prolong that investment because you were on pace to get what you needed, and I understand it's one of those things you can't say that because then it encourages people to scrimp as much as they can and pay you as little as possible. But you have to have money as a business saved up for investments. Like, we kind of returning to that point. And so you can't just take away from the profits as if it's going to have no ramifications or no threat to the business.
Yeah. It's not just about having a plus. If your positive is 0.5%, you're not going to make it as a business. And
honestly, to all these people that are thinking about to all the people who want, this company makes a lot of money, this company makes a lot of money, that's something you should just start negotiating with companies, like, honestly, because I know if we ever got big, if we had a good year, yeah, we'd want to share it with our employees. Find someone who values you, find someone who's moral. That's really the big thing. Is, like we said, there is a biblical aspect to it. The Bible says you should not muzzle an ox when it treads out the grain, and the laborer deserves his wages. And it doesn't say that you have to pay them a certain amount, but if you have good workers, and you understand that, you're going to pay more for them. You're going to pay to keep them around. You're going to incentivize them to stay with you. Because that's the thing about it. You want to keep good people. The reason these companies don't incentivize you to stay is because they don't care about you. They'll hire someone else to do the job.
Yep.
Like with us, if we're going to hire, it's going to be because you have a specific skill set that we need. And if we want you to stay, we're going to do everything we can to incentivize you to stay. Yeah. We're going to show you appreciation. We're going to throw you bonuses. And we're going to take care of you as best we can. Now, it's still a couple years out, Lord willing. we'll see the day. But,
I mean, look at me. I get threatened to be fired, but I never actually get fired.
Exactly.
No, but I mean, that is actually treating your employees properly. Actually treating them to where they see their value. Because then you end up getting more work out of someone anyway. Try getting someone to stop working when they know that you appreciate everything they do. They're not going to. They're going to keep working. And that's not selfish. It's not manipulative. It's just, hey, if you're nice to someone, they're going to be nice to you.
It's called the blessings of obeying God. But there's something I just thought of too that I was gonna talk about. I guess that's the thing too. When you sit here and say, "Well, I want to be paid this much," well, you're even hurting your chances of doing that, because if companies around are really not paying that well, start your own business. That's before there was a corporate America. People made their own way. Everyone. And it was the people who successfully made their own way that they had enough in resources to provide for others to come in and help them. And that's what it boiled down to. They didn't run to a government. They didn't run to the king. In fact, every time they run to the king, and actually the reason they moved away from kings, and the reason America moved away from kings, is because kings don't tend to take care of their subjects. They tend to take care of themselves, living in these ginormous castles, protecting themselves, and taxing the people to pay for their endeavors.
It was the interesting thing to me to watch in St. Croix while I was here this weekend. I've been telling everybody that how cool it was that, you know, the families, when they build a house, more often than not, they'll contract someone out to do the foundation of the house. Specialized skill, being able to build a house to where it is foundationally sound. Once they get above the foundation, it's the men building their own homes. And I mean, it's such a perfect example of that. Of, okay, I'm gonna pay for what I physically cannot do, and then I'm going to get the skills for the things that I can reasonably do. Being able to, you know, you think about it, digging that whole foundation. Yeah, that's gonna be expensive, and you know, having something that's sound and stable and in a place when there's potential hurricanes, and like, yeah, that makes sense. But then you actually build the house yourself. Sure, why not?
Well, and that's the thing. You think about it. Why did that foundation layer go into business? Because there's an opportunity to get people to pay for something that he could specialize in. I mean, that's what capitalism is. Find something that people do every day, find a way to do it better or faster or more convenient, and do it for them and have them pay, because people will pay for convenience. People love paying for convenience. Why? Keurig. Worst way to brew coffee. Yet how many of you have a Keurig? Why? Because it's convenient.
Yeah.
Oh, I love coffee. I'm willing to buy Keurig pods from you guys because it's convenient. I'm not going to sit there and wait for a French press, which is going to objectively have better flavor.
Which we understand, because sometimes you need a convenient option.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is there's the value isn't set. For some people, they've got the time. No, I'm not going to pay for a Keurig. I can sit here and French press all day. I don't go into work till 9.
No.
I wake up, I can French press. I have like 2 hours to French press. So there's no way I'm going to pay for a Keurig. No. Value is different to all people. There's nothing that has a set value. And the funny thing is, a lot of the jobs that even pay a lot, it's because of all the government regulation that's involved. And so even the high-paying jobs, it's just because of all the government regulation.
Yeah.
And even then, I mean, yeah, you'd say it's all the schooling, but yeah, I don't know.
And then Princess Magpul just threw in there, thanks to the government, they require licenses and certificates for the job. So exactly what you were just going after.
Yeah.
I think it's, overall, it's not a... You can have, whatever the view is on either side, that's fine. I think it's just for me, it's the risk. I guess it's kind of like in an overarching statement for all of this, because I've had it in my mind a lot of, okay, one, if we had someone with the opposing view, that's fine. The thing I'm always curious about with it is, what are the ramifications on either side? And so when you talk about minimum wage, what is the problem? And realistically, the biggest problem I see is that you stomp out any effort for a small business to exist, for one, because you can't keep up, because you don't have corporate dollars. You have typical dollars, which means there's a very small cap. But then you also take away all of the, what I would say is beauty that there is in that capitalistic formation of give someone a reason to do a job better for less money. Yeah, if you know you're going to get a bid, you will do a job better for less money because you know that you're getting the job.
I was going to say, I got into building PCs. I'm not looking to make a killing off those, but I'm looking to make better than what the competitors are at cheaper costs to you guys. Like, I try to make it as cheap as possible. Because why? Because I want to do it. I want to offer cheap gaming PCs, not to thing the market, but just because I myself, it's something I would have wanted. I would have wanted someone who offered me someone that does exactly what I needed to, and not just say, "Oh yeah, you just need to buy $1,000 gaming PC."
Yeah,
I don't even like the ones I'd build. I wouldn't even think about specking up to $1,000.
Well, and Princess Magpul again with the fire comments. Problem is the government.
Yes, amen.
That's what it comes down to.
Yes. Well, and I think that's the thing for me is it comes down to it's unconstitutional. It's flat out it's unconstitutional because you were telling someone whose business you don't have any ownership of, any stock in, or anything like that. This is how you have to conduct business. You have to pay people this much. I don't work for you. I don't pay your bills. I don't worry about your books, but you have to do this because I said so, because this is how much I want to be paid. No. And so all of you need to be forced to pay me this much wherever I go, whatever I want to do. It's like, that's not how life works.
No.
You don't get to tell people the only thing you can control in life is what you do. That's the only thing you can control in life. You can sit here and say, no, well, that's why we have a society. Yes. That's also why we have a police force, is because even society can't force other people to do what's right. You're never going to be able to force people to do what's right. The Bible is very clear about that. The hearts of man is exceedingly wicked. We seek to do evil constantly. In fact, once you put... Vodi Bakum did a sermon, and he made a wonderful illustration on this. You're on the highway, speed limit is 65. You're going 70. You're going 70 miles an hour. You're fine with that. Speed limit goes up to 70. You don't stay at 70. No one stays at 70. You go up to 75, which I guess my point of contention with that is I'm not fine with 70. It's just that's the highest I can go without getting in trouble. But then you think about it. What do they say? If you tell a boy no, he's only going to do it more because you were told not to. You're walking by all these park benches, nothing wrong with them, and there's one that says wet paint, don't touch, and now all of a sudden everything within you wants to touch it because you're told not to. Yeah. That's it. It's an illustration that seems harmless, but it shows the deeper thing with us, that when the law is there, then we want to rebel against it because that's just our nature as humans. And you sit there and say, well, that's not true. We have more laws on the books than we did before. We have more laws on the books around guns and still more school shootings than when guns were allowed on school premises. What have the laws done? Nothing. They've done nothing. And people have continued to more and more engage in school shootings. Go ahead, check Wikipedia. Back in from 1980 to 1990, there was about 30 school shootings. Our fearless former vice president decided he was going to stop the issue and make schools a gun-free zone. It was going to stop school shootings. And then from the 1990s to 2000, it was 60. And then from 2000 to 2010, it was 120. And then from 2010 to 2020, it was 220. So we slowed down a little bit. We jumped off the rate of doubling every decade. But, 200, we went from 30, well, let's incorporate legislation, now 200.
I love it.
Yeah, that a lot of good that did. But it's the bigger issue is the morality. No amount of legislation is going to fix morality. And so it comes down to, first off, you yourself have to be a hard worker. Be a dedicated worker, a hard worker that your employer knows if they have a no cell phones policy, when they look at you, they're not going to see you. Doesn't matter if no one else around you is working, work hard.
You basically you make yourself become someone. I mean, we've become someone. Let me finish the thought and then give the example. Become someone that they don't want to pay less to. I mean, we have people who are in here. One guy always comes to mind. In here daily, sometimes twice a day, and every time he gets a cup, he leaves a tip. Now, typically, you leave a tip as like a sign of, hey, good job, keep going. Be the kind of person that people don't want to not tip. That if they're only allowed to pay you so much, they'll just slip you the rest some other way. Because if you become that kind of person, then you'll have nothing to worry about. People will always want to take care of you. Why? Because they know the quality of the work they get, they understand who they're getting it from, and they know it's going to be done right.
Well, and to that point, if people aren't paying you what you're worth, if people aren't respecting you, take matters into your own hands. Start your own business. Start doing something that people will pay you for, and that you don't have to answer to anyone. You don't have to ask for a paycheck from anyone. That's the thing. It's getting harder because of government intervention, because of taxation. Oh, these big corporations. All these taxes that have gone after big corporations, what has it done? Nothing, except hurt the small business, because they get roped in with it too.
Yep.
You sit here and you see this public enemy. Oh, they have all this money. And I guess that to me is the bigger problem. If they have all this money, so what? You know how you take that money away from them? Stop shopping with them. Oh, but they have what? The cheaper prices? Oh, so it sounds harsh, but that's the thing with it. You could sacrifice some of the luxuries in life, some of the things that we feel like we can't do without. Smartphones. You don't need those. If you want, get one tablet or get a desktop, a gaming PC from Misfit Militia Coffee, Misfit Militia Gaming. But you don't need a smartphone. You say, well, it helps with traveling. Yeah, but you have atlases, you have MapQuest, you can print all that stuff out. People got around back in the day without smartphones. Yes, I understand that if you have to go somewhere at the drop of a hat, it makes it a lot more convenient. But all of this has, every choice we make has a consequence. There are good consequences, there are bad consequences. The more you pay for the luxuries in your own life, then the less you can shop with these small businesses who charge more, even though they're going to treat their employees better.
Biblically, we're supposed to live within our means. And I forgot who it was that had said it to me years back. The understanding that that doesn't mean, okay, I physically have this much coming in every week, so I can spend this much going out. Now, living within your means has the definition of no matter what happens, you'll be okay. Like, you have enough to pay the main bills. And so you could, it was like people who work jobs with a bonus. I was always taught, do not hang your hat on the bonus, because when that bonus disappears, the bills don't. And so if that's cool, if you've got a bonus and your pay is here and your bonus puts it here, if you stay within your pay, I can almost guarantee that when you don't get your bonus, you'll be fine until it does come back around. And it drives home that further thing of, like, yeah, there's issues with inflation and all going on right now, but, and this is ourselves included, I think this is everybody, where, yeah, not the best spending decisions. They leave you in places where you might struggle for a little bit. You can fix them, but it just all does all the more to put it back in our laps of saying, rather than complaining about how much someone is paying, take a look at yourself and remove that problem from your life entirely. Make sure that you are sustaining on your own. That way you don't have to say yes to someone just because, well, that's all I got. Make it not all you've got. I'm just peeking out. I know it's...
Well, that's the thing. I think you made an excellent point of, like, make sure you yourself are behaving proper. You're acting proper, doing this. I mean, that's the thing about, if we want to really break down what are luxuries and what are necessities, hot water is a luxury. You could argue that heating is a necessity. During certain times of months, it definitely is here. Air conditioning is a luxury. Having multiple vehicles is a luxury. Being able to go out to eat and not just making your food yourself is a luxury. Smartphones are a luxury. Cable TV, Hulu is definitely a luxury. Netflix is definitely a luxury. That's the thing about it, is we've lost sight of what is actually necessity and what is luxury. And we pay for all these things that are luxury and say, I can't afford to live. You can, but you can't live this softened, luxurious lifestyle where you have all these convenient things. But it can be done. You have to limit yourself to what are absolute necessities. Like, the central unit on our house went out, and it went forever without getting fixed. We couldn't really afford to do it, so we got bare minimums for thing. We had a heater for the office because that's where Angela spent most of her time. We got a heater for the bedroom, and we got AC units for the bedrooms. We got an AC unit for the office, and that's all we got. That's all we ran with. And it worked. The rest of the house was hot, but we got what we needed. And it's just, you look like you want to...
I was just throwing real quick, because Princess Magpul threw in a comment too, just watching through the comments here, of to the point you made that the consumer cares more about if a company's green than they do about how the employees are treated. Which I know it's a little off because of the time lag and all with what you're saying, but I mean it still does sort of go along the same vein, because if you're taking care of that should be part of taking care of yourself, is making sure that you're not.
That's grossly important. That's the biggest way you get people who are going to pay more. You go to the businesses where the employees are happy to work there. That the employees, like, if you know someone who's working at this place, man, this place is great. They're paying me this much. They're paying above the rest of the people in their industry. Their thing. You go shop with them. Hey, where can I go to get your product? Where can I go to support you guys? Where can I go? Because those are the people you want to support. Those are the people you want to stay in business. But that's the thing. They usually charge more. Again, I ask to those people who believe if you believe there should be a minimum wage, do you ever use self-checkout? Do you pay at the pump? Do you use things that don't involve someone working there? Because if you do, don't tell me that you believe in minimum wage. You don't actually believe in a minimum wage. You just believe that it sounds nice that people should get a minimum wage.
Well, and wages don't always come in strictly the paycheck either. How many people have we met where it's, yeah, my company I work for is not the greatest on pay, but if I need a day off for the kids, I'm gone. If I just want to go fish for the day, all I gotta do is say the word. that stuff ends up like monetarily. That's higher than what the minimum wage would be. You're not physically getting it in your pockets or in your wallet, but you're getting it in another form. And when you say you have to do a wage at this price, you completely ruin the ability to do that kind of thing. Because now the company, okay, look, I've got to pay you this much. I need every dime I can get out of you.
Well, that's the other thing. To that point, or to a company, because then you also have to offer benefits. You have to offer healthcare. You have to offer all these different things. If you took all that away and a company was able to schedule or to set up your pay structure to how you and they agreed, and you could work that in of, hey, just so you know, I like to do this kind of stuff with my family. Well, hey, if you get your work done throughout the week, just go and do it. Like if everything's taken care of, just go. We're just gonna pay you, And if there's a week where you're working heavy, we'll log your hours. We're probably gonna just pay you treat you like a salaried guy. We're gonna pay you this many thing, and as long as your work's taken care of, hey, you're good to go. And if there's a day you're pulling heavy, hey, we'll pay you extra.
Look at folks who are on call. Because I believe this is how it works, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but if you get called in on a weekend, you're on call, you're paid a minimum. I think it's like 4 hours you get paid for off the rip, or 2 hours. It's even if you're only there to fix 5 minutes worth of work, there's still some incentive that is far above a minimum wage. It's, hey, if we're going to take up your time, here's the way we're going to compensate it. That's the whole competitive salary, competitive pay thing. You shouldn't. I personally don't think you should need a minimum wage. If the company's smart, they're going to keep their guys. They're going to do what they have to do to keep their guys. Whether that's paying extra or fostering a morale where people don't want to leave because they feel so devoted to the company that they work with.
That's the big thing, is fostering a relationship. That's the biggest thing that's realistically that needs to happen. And when you work for a big corporation, there is no relationship. You don't know the owners. You don't know the person who's responsible for pay. The people who are responsible for pay are just looking at it from what can we afford to pay, or if we have minimum wage, or what are we making. All of these decisions are based off of how much people are making, and it's going to come down to it. How much is the company making? How much can they afford to pay you? How much value do they see that job adding? Because for making bags, for us here, that's such an easy job that we would have to be making hands like from start to finish, and I have no time to work on anything else. Would we even consider hiring someone for that? Because if I can make all the bags, like if we were big enough to where we were supplying everyone, and I could make all the bags for the next day with the last 4 hours of the day, no, I'm not gonna hire anyone for that.
Yeah,
I'll sacrifice my 4 hours and get it done, even if I already worked 8 or I worked 12, and I know I have these, but I know I have this much to do, and I'm able to get it done. If it gets to the point where I'm working 16 hours a week, then we might start hiring someone. Or if Big Bad John's working 16 hours a week, we're going to look at hiring someone. We'll probably hire a woman, because then we can pay her 77 cents on the dollar. I'm not gonna say anything to negatively influence the business. We will not. The Bible is very clear. Show no partiality as you hold the faith in our Lord Jesus Christ. So what we're going to pay is going to be based on who you are, like your work ethic, not on anything else.
Beautiful. I just wanted to see where you're going to go with it.
We're going to pay you off of work ethic if we get, Lord willing, get to the point where we can hire people. But I guess at this point, just kind of being a dead horse, I feel like I think the biggest thing is that it's unconstitutional. And if you sit there and say, well, what's to those out there saying, well, what's your solution? Be a moral person. Influence others to be a moral person. This is the biggest thing that we've lost in America. Is I'm not going to tell them how to live their life. I'm not going to live my life. That's fine, but that comes with consequence. Encourage people. You don't have to beat them over the head to be moral, but encourage them to be moral people, and look for moral people to do business with. If you really don't like how a company treats their employees, it's time to start sacrificing. It's time to start sacrificing your luxuries. It's time to start sacrificing the convenience or the easy pay and start going somewhere where you know they're going to treat their employees well.
I was gonna say sacrificing the needs, not the people. Don't start sacrificing people that you know.
We're not the Ammonite people. We do not believe in human sacrifices.
That one. Nope, sure don't.
But I guess, do you have any final words you want to offer?
I think that about covers it, and I'm not seeing anything additional from Princess Magpul or otherwise in the comments, so I think we have rounded out the discussion.
Well, there you have it. Minimum wage, unconstitutional. And with that, I hope you all have a good rest of your Monday. I hope you stay safe, stay free, and stay caffeinated.